in, you guys. You all know me. Hi, it's Nikki. Nice to see all your faces. We have some brand new people here today as well, so if you look around the room, if there's somebody you haven't met, please be that person that reaches out and says, hey, nice to meet you. We have a wonderful mix of event today. You don't want to hear me talk all the time, although I'm going to make you listen for a little bit today. But the goal for us today is to really allow those that have selected an apartment, a few of them up here in the panel, to answer your questions and answer some of the questions that were submitted previously so that you get a real taste of what is actually happening, what's going through people's minds that aren't salespeople, right? I think everybody kind of at some point decides, Nikki's approaching it from a sales perspective. I get that. So this is a chance to hear from your peers. So I appreciate that. Some housekeeping items, like I mentioned. Our goal, I know we're starting a little bit late, our goal is to keep it under an hour, depending on how many live questions you all have. So if you need to at some point leave, let us know. If we have more people pop in, we may ask you to scrunch in, although the whole front row is wide open here. So it's either you guys or it's me, and I'm going to lean towards you guys because they usually fill the front row for me. To kind of set the tone of the day, we're going to do a little summary. I'm going to show you a short video to start. So just by a show of hands here today, how many of you are getting the weekly update that I sent? Or Nicole sends on my behalf. Okay, great. How many of you are reading it? That was a trick question because I know some of you aren't. So what we oftentimes what we've started to do is hear something very commonly discussed week after week or appointment after appointment that sometimes is really helpful, and we say, hey, maybe we should make a short video talking about it because maybe someone else in the wait list would feel the same way. So some of the videos that I've shared with you have just been off the cuff, hey, here's what we heard this week. Let's talk about it, because I think the more transparent we can be about the whole process, the better off everybody in the room is. Whether at the end of the day you pick us or not, we need to be more transparent. So from my perspective, I'm going to start you with a video, and some of you have watched it, I think 6, because I can see that. I can't tell who watched it, but I only know 6 people viewed it. But I'm going to show you one to kind of start the conversation today. The goal of this panel event is to take those of you who have waived or are considering waiving or are not quite sure what to do, to give you the opportunity to have a light bulb moment. And what I mean by that is for you to walk away and go, that comment that was made resonated with me. That made me think differently about the next steps. Our goal is to fill the building and put it in the ground, and we need everybody in the room to do that. So I'm going to set the tone a little bit today with a video that only 6 of you watched. So if you're here and you already watched it, I apologize. But it's talking a little bit about the timeline of the Cesta compared to other wait lists. How many of you are on other wait lists? It's okay to raise your hand. You should be. You should be on another one. In Madison, the Cesta is one of the shortest wait lists without being built. And I want that to resonate with you. I want you to fully understand, what does that mean? That means that even with the building not in the ground yet, we are the shortest wait list in Madison right now. A Vista West, a Cardinal View, Oakwood, All Saints, Attic Angels, Capitol Lakes, all of them have longer wait lists than 2 years. So if you're not ready for 2028, you need to really be considering, are you ready waiting till 2035 and beyond? Because when we open and we're full, you're going to have to wait several years for an apartment to come open. So I want to kind of start with that. I know it sounds a little doomsday, but those are the absolute facts of the Madison market right now. You're an underserved population. We cannot wait to give you more opportunity. But that's something I want you to kind of think about as we start with the video, and then I promise I'll stop talking as much.
Hi everybody, it's Nikki from the office. We had a common question that's come up
Everybody
this
hear it
week
okay?
that I wanted to address and maybe potentially challenge yourselves to think a little bit differently when it comes to our proposed timeline. So we have had several people waive, and some of those reasons include timeline, and they just say, listen, I am simply just not ready. 2027, 28 seems too soon for me. And if that is something that you have told yourself, or you are thinking to yourself, this message is for you. I want you to picture 2028, the Cesta is full, our first residents have moved in, and the apartments are full. So what happens in 2029, and 2030, and 2031? Have you asked yourself that question yet? Keeping in mind that the Cesta is attracting a younger senior, those that have committed to apartment homes so far, on average, are in their mid-70s. So you're bringing in a younger senior into a community, opening in 2027, 28, so 2 years from now. And then we're also changing how that care gets distributed. So in a typical setting, people would move out in 3 to 7 years on average because they need care, or they need something more than their apartment home can offer. At the Cesta, that's just not going to be true. We have a care model where the care is encouraged to come into the apartment home. So the average length of how long people are in independent living isn't very relevant to us. So when you think about 2028, and then adding on people moving in, and then adding on people needing care at some point, all of that's happening in their apartment home, which means that apartment home does not become vacant. So I want you to ask yourself, if you're not quite ready for 2028, that's okay. But you need to be comfortable knowing that it could be several years beyond 2028 before an apartment becomes available at all. Not to mention an apartment that you actually want. It could be a 1-bedroom when you're looking for a 2. It could be a 3rd floor when you're looking for a 4th, etc., etc. One of the things I want you to think about, contemplate if timeline has come into play for you, saying, I'm just not ready, 2028 is too soon. Are you okay with waiting to 2035 and beyond? If the answer is no, let's have a conversation.
So that's a video you missed. So if you're not watching those videos, I strongly suggest you do, because sometimes there's some actual truth to that and it helps to resonate things a little differently. So to kick things off, we want to give a couple current updates to you before we introduce the panel. So if you've been receiving the weekly updates, you know where we stand right now, which is a really wonderful spot. Today, actually, this needs to be changed. We had an event this morning. We currently are welcoming number 328 to the wait list as of this morning. So before our event today, we had 326, and now we're up 2 more. So we continue to add to the wait list on a pretty regular level here. So 48 apartment homes have been reserved. So out of the 124, we are at 48. Some of those floor plans are now gone and spoken for, and some have only a few left. So if that is something that you're kind of tracking and wanting to learn about, we encourage you to reach out to have a new conversation. That makes us 55%, I rounded up, so if anybody does the math here, I rounded up. 55% to our goal. Our goal is 87 apartment homes to be selected and reserved on before we break ground. So that is 55% of our way there. So if you want to clap now would be a good time. We will take it. The team needs some clapping. It's been a long couple months. And last but certainly not least, that overall, if you take the percentage of the 48 into the 124, that leads us with 39%, almost 40% of the entire apartment, independent apartment portion of the building is spoken for at this point. So wonderful progress in the first couple months. We are absolutely on track to be in a really good place towards the beginning of summer here. So everybody in the room that has selected, we appreciate you. And just want to kind of give you guys a little bit of a heads up here. So, event expectations. You know how we love to set expectations so that we can get the most out of the event today. As I mentioned before, the event is a panel event. You see all these wonderful smiling, hopefully they're smiling people in the front that have graciously volunteered and said yes to a request to represent the Cesta to all of you and give their experience a little bit of time for you to hear from them directly. But the panel questions are designed for those on the wait list to leave with new considerations. We are going to be very black and white about it. We want more apartment homes reserved. That is it. What it comes down to right now is we need to get the numbers up, and that is our sole purpose until further notice. So the goal today is to have some of those questions, if you haven't picked or waived, maybe have you leave with a different consideration about your future opportunities. We're going to focus on the reservation process. This is not a conversation about, did you pick the countertop table or colors yet? Do we know what color I can paint my wall? We love all those questions, but our sole focus is to answer questions for those that need the opportunity to hear from their peers. We all need one another. If you look around the room, if everybody in the room did it, we'd be in the ground already. So I want to have that conversation, to be very frank with you. The point of today is to get you to ask freely of people that are willing to share their story and their information with you in hopes that it provides you another opportunity. Like I mentioned before, let your peers give you your light bulb moment. Every once in a while, one comment will go, I'm going to call after that. That message really resonated with me. Let me call and make an appointment. We've had that happen several times where people have said, hey, I decided to pass, but guess what? That email you sent in that weekly update resonated with me. I want to have a new conversation. So we implore you to let these people up here that have graciously donated their time to provide you that light bulb moment. So some of the things I'm going to mention here, because you guys are going to look at me crazy because you're going to have 2 microphones. What I want to mention, everybody give Faith a wave. So Faith is over here in the corner. She's our digital media specialist for Illuminous. She works with us at the Cesta offices. She has graciously volunteered to videotape the panel question and answer portion so that we can send it out in the weekly update to those who were not able to attend. So what is kind of fun about AV, anybody an AV geek over here? No, maybe we can pick your brain later. But you have to AV to the room so you guys can all hear us, and you also have to AV to the microphone so that the microphone can hear you. So our panel members will be holding 2 microphones. Don't make fun of them, though. I already promised we weren't going to make fun of them. So what I want to do is introduce the panel here, and I've asked them to provide a short little intro of themselves, and then maybe provide one positive or one unique experience piece, and then we'll dive into questions, okay? So I'm going to list them all here first, and then allow them to introduce themselves. So on the far end here, we have Tom. Tom, you want to give a wave? Well, he's paying attention, everybody. It's a really good start. We have Joanne right next to him. We have Lyle. We have Michael. We have Susan. We have Nancy. We have Peggy. And last but certainly not least, we have Stuart. So I'm going to let Stuart introduce himself. And at the end of each, if you wouldn't mind giving them a little round of applause to ease some nerves, that would be great. All right, welcome, Stuart.
Thank you.
2 handles.
You got it. Thank you. This will keep my hands busy at least.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, yeah, we made the decision to buy in. My wife Mary Ann and I. She had to bend my arm a little bit to convince me, and it's not. I'm not going to tell you it's an easy call. It's tough to do, but we're so happy that we've done it. And once you make the decision, it gets a little easier. So we ended up on the 2nd level. We ended up with a 2-bedroom unit because we felt we just needed, the little extra room and what have you. And so we're as you get older, life can turn on a dime for you. Talking personally, I have some mobility issues that just kind of came about the last couple of years, and we live in a big home now that's much more than we certainly need, and and it's not easy making that switch, but I know it's part of life. We all get to the point in life where we have to make some decisions and accept them and think through it and realize it's the right move.
Well, thank you. All right, Stuart. Thank you. Welcome, Stuart.
Those of you that know me know I'm rarely speechless, but hi, I'm Peggy Rausch. I live here in Madison, in the far southeast corner near McFarland. I'm a retired educator. I spent most of my career as a teacher and a psychologist, and ended up working for the Department of Public Instruction, and then eventually ACT. And I retired about 4 years ago, and I live in a condo right now that's perfectly fine. I could live there until I pass away. It's perfect. But when I kept getting these postcards from the Cesta.
We are relentless.
And honestly, for about 4 years, I was pitching them every single month. They were going, I was like, why do they keep sending this to me? I'm not that old. And I had kind of a moment with myself, and I've been single for over 20 years, so I make all the decisions for myself. And I realized, maybe it is time for me to have a conversation with myself and what my future is going to hold, and am I going to stay in this condo? And so I did start looking at other places. I looked at Oakwood, both the east and the west. Then I came to a Cesta, and honestly, at that meeting, I put my $1,000 down. This was kind of what I was looking for that I wasn't finding anywhere else. And I have a really small family, a son, daughter-in-law, and a daughter who's developmentally disabled. And for me, my joining this community is my gift to my children. This is what I'm leaving my children. They won't need to worry about mom. They won't need to make those decisions. I'm making those decisions when I can. So this is my gift to Mary and Patrick.
Good afternoon. My name is Nancy Arnold. My husband and I have lived in Fitchburg for 38 years, I think, something like that. So Fitchburg really is our home. I mentioned that I am a nurse because I think that's important to the decision that we have made with Cesta. I still work, and I work as a nurse and patient advocate, which has given me the experience over the last 5 or 6 years of seeing and being in every facility in Madison, Fitchburg, and surrounding areas. And I would say at this point, and at the point that we chose our apartment, that I am 100% confident that this is the right decision. Now, that also is juxtaposed with feeling incredibly uncomfortable with the decision, because it is an uncomfortable decision. And, like I sit in my house in the evening and I look around at the sofa in my den and the chair in my living room, and I'm like, where is that gonna go? And there's no space for it. I also love the neighborhood I live in, and I look around as I'm walking my dog and I'm like, boy, am I gonna miss this? There is gonna be more of that, especially as we get closer, but I am confident that our needs will be met, because Cesta is that kind of place. I know what else is out there, and I really feel like the model that Cesta is built on is the model that one should be looking at, rather than a month-to-month community. I also feel like what the staff here has done to help start to develop community helps with that discomfort of having to decide what furniture you're going to keep, and leaving a neighborhood that you're fond of, and all those decisions. But I am grateful that the Cesta is available and that we will have that opportunity. We have picked an apartment. We are going to be on the 4th floor. We're both excited about it, but we're both uncomfortable too.
Definitely an uncomfortable decision, I think, for everybody. And there's not anybody in this room or anybody up here that wants to leave their home. Nobody. Nobody that ever moves into a community ever wants to leave their home. My name's Susan Roth, and I've lived in this area for just a year and a half. And I moved here because my daughter lives here. My husband passed away 2 years ago, and I thought it was important to get closer to my daughter. And at this age, we built houses, brand new houses, right next door to each other, fully knowing I was going to come to a community. But I couldn't figure out how to do it any other way. So Cesta, communities here are very different than I've seen around in other places that I've lived. And Cesta sticks out in a positive way for many, many reasons, and I think we'll get to those as you ask your questions. I picked apartment on the 4th floor, 1414.
Not to repeat what you've already heard, but it is very true. I'm Michael. I was a biomedical engineer for 40-some years. I retired in 2017. Being an engineer, planning and details were key. And what really drove us to decide that senior living facilities or communities are right was our granddaughter gave us norovirus just before Thanksgiving, right when COVID was peaking. And my wife had a liver transplant. So when we both got sick, she started to go down on the ground, and I told her, don't go down. I can't pick you up. I'm too weak. So I called the ambulance. They came, got her stable. The ambulance driver came out and got right in my face and said, by the way, I called the second ambulance, and you're going too, because I can see you're about to fall down. So we both ended up in ER. She was put into the hospital for 3 days. They pumped me full of fluids, which I could not keep for 32 hours. Nothing stayed in my body. I was so dehydrated. At 36 hours, I was still in the ER because they had no rooms in the hospital. They discharged me. What did we have to do? You heard it. I had to call my daughter. So right then and there, having to depend on our child or our children, we said, we're not doing this as we age. I have a distinct advantage. I lived in a senior community for 18 months. We left it for various reasons, which if you're interested, I'll go into. But we miss it because it was a community. We were more active. We had people our age, similar interests, varied interests, very much what I'm looking forward to. And Nikki knows this. We told her when we signed up, tell us when we can commit. And we did. So thank you.
My name is Lyle Christian. I currently live in an apartment in Verona, so I've already downsized once. I came out of a 2,500 square foot house, living all by myself, 4 bedrooms. I didn't need to clean 3 bathrooms. So I've already downsized, but I'm excited to come back or come to the Cesta. And I've been on the list. Well, I gave my initial down payment back in December of 21. So I've been around a long time. I'm originally from Watertown, which is where the Marquardt is. And I watched the history of this community. My sister worked there. My mother passed away there in assisted living. So I've come a long way in noticing what Marquardt, which is now Illuminus, has done, and I've got confidence that I'm in the right place. My background is construction, so they'll probably have a restraining order that I cannot come within a mile of the construction.
It's already drafted, it's ready to send it in when I need to.
Come and see me at the jail.
Hello, everybody. My name is Joanne Steelstra. I'm really glad to hear everything that's been said because it's all here too. And my husband, he wasn't on board with this idea. You know, no, not going there. And I knew it was important to me. So I knew he's a real nerdy guy, and I knew I was going to have to cover my bases, and I was going to have to paint a good picture and make sure I knew what I was talking about, and I did. Create a big old spreadsheet. I went to every retirement community in Madison, Middleton, Fitchburg, McFarland, and Stoughton. They were all on that spreadsheet. I had the contact information, the address, I had, are they continuum of care? Do they have the right nursing license? I went into the state records and looked at the inspection reports. What kind of records are here? How often were the transgressions repeated? How quickly did they solve them? And then the other things that were important to me, continuum care, local ownership, because of what Lyle just said. Marquardt has a reputation in the state of Wisconsin, and these folks are going to work hard to maintain that. And I also want to say, when I got my spreadsheet all done, I went to these places. Marquardt, every one of them. I talked to the staff, I talked to the residents, I talked to the cook. How's your job? Do you like it? What do you got a good one person said, are you looking for a job? Because it meant A, B, and C here, and D even, these are good people to notice. They've been working hard, and they're still here. And that's because I believe the organization supports them. And if those folks who work there are supported, I'm going to get good care too. And that matters to me. And I went to Marquardt, and I was impressed, and it still is playing out. The thing about the children, I had my mom with me for 10 years at the end of her life. I know the stress that causes. I also know the stress it puts on relationships. I also know when you got somebody sick, the spouse is going to pay with their health. So getting in a situation where you got some guarantees, or at least good records that say these folks are committed to good care for adults, for older folks aging. It all just painted a picture. Marquardt Illuminous just kept coming to the top, and that's why we chose. We have, and I convinced him. By golly. He's on the page. 1435, that's where we are. I hope to welcome all of you.
My name is Tom Jensen. My wife Roxanne and I live in Fitchburg, just a couple of miles away from here, so it won't be much of a move for us. We initially thought very highly of the Cesta team. Nikki and Nicole and Stephanie and that was the first the first bright spot that got us coming back. We signed up in January of 23. Yeah, January in 2023. So I'm not quite a veteran like Lyle, but been around a few years, and you get to talking with these people, and you get the idea that this is a pretty well-run organization, and we're really enthused about that. And in particular, Stephanie, who's going to be the boss, she's going to be, she's the one on site that we'll all be working with, and so I know that she's going to do a good job. There is one consideration about her, though, I should tell you about. I overheard her once, excuse me, say, when I roll Reveille at 6:45, I expect them down there at 7. And I know I can make it, but I'm a little worried about Stuart and Roger. I don't think he'll make it. But we also went to the Marquardt, and I was pretty sure I was going to find some dust in the corners, or some light bulbs not working, or leaves accumulated in some place outdoors. But it's really well taken care of, and I found no dust in the corners, no sparrow nests out on the windowsills, or anything at all that would say this is not well taken care of. So we're very enthused and happy to be here.
So we're gonna kind of dive into some pre-recorded or pre-submitted questions from the group, and then we have about 10 of them, so we'll give maybe 1 or 2 panel members an opportunity to answer each of those questions, and then we'll open it up to the live group. So if you have a question that you don't see represented, kind of hold on to that. We'd love to make sure we take time to do that as well. But one more round of applause for this panel. That was great. You guys did great. So I'm going to kick things off with our first question. You can't see behind you, but for the rest of the group here, read it out loud. What initially attracted you to the Cesta, other than all of my mailers? Because trust me. And then we have to switch up the sizes during the political ad season because they all look the same and you guys all just throw them away. So we have to be strategic about it. But is there anyone on the panel that would like to answer what initially attracted you to the Cesta? Michael, you want to take a roll?
I'm glad to know that I wasn't the only one that did a spreadsheet. I have a 5-page spreadsheet of every facility in this area. So what really attracted me to Cesta is the true fact, it is different.
Yeah.
It is different in all respects. And a big part of it, like Tom said, is the staff. And I was also very impressed with the upkeep of Marquardt because I went in there looking at it. I'm an engineer. I didn't do construction, but being an engineer, we understand construction. Well built, well maintained. Very different. I went into a facility, smoke detectors literally hanging from a wire. Half the lights were out in the hallways. They were dark. We lasted in that facility for 5 minutes. We were out the door. The salesperson there was following us, and I said, not interested. This is dump. She turned and walked away. But it was true. I felt so sorry for the people that lived there. So sorry.
Anyone else want to answer this one at all? Joanne's got one.
Yeah, I just want to add, it mattered to me that it was locally owned and that it was nonprofit, because with nonprofit, you run out of your money, you don't get kicked out. It matters to me. And continuum of care that was mentioned, that matters to me. And the employees, because if you've got solid employees that are happy doing their work, you get to know them, they get to know you, and there's a continuum of good care too. So those were the things that.
I'll pass it down. Here. This is the best part of the whole. I'm just gonna walk. I'm gonna get my steps in.
Good for you.
Yeah. Oh, I need them. Okay, Stuart.
I didn't say that. You said that.
That was implied.
That was you. You said that. I think one thing that's attractive to me is, frankly, the location. We live in Fitchburg now, and I just I enjoy Fitchburg to begin with, but this is a whole new neighborhood, and I think that's nice. And I was a farm kid when I grew up, and I just can't see myself living at Oakwood or Capitol Lakes or someplace that's just crammed into the city. I think to me, location is really a plus.
Just one quick thing, and that is a point that was made in the introduction, which is it's available. And having been in other facilities like you have, I mean, there's 6-8 year wait list. And so, you add that to where we are now, and I'm like, well, what will I be like in 8 years? And I think it's better to be making a decision from a standpoint of a relatively healthy person who doesn't need to move versus a person who's making a decision under duress. So the fact that there's not an 8-year waiting list was very attractive.
Perfect. You have one more? Oh, yeah. Okay. Sorry, I already clicked ahead. Okay.
With that 8-year waiting list, when I checked out Oakwood, which is a nice facility, one of the things that stood out for me, though, is by signing up now, I was able to pick an apartment the style, the size, and the location I wanted. Whereas many of these other places that have long waiting lists, they will contact you. You get an opportunity to look at that apartment that is available, and you either take it or leave it. And so that ability to really choose an apartment that fits me, I think was really important in my decision-making to put my money down.
Great answers. So, second question from that was submitted previously is what aspects of the Cesta are most important in your decision? We hit a little bit on it here with location, pricing, availability. Was there anything in particular that stuck out that was the most important piece that we maybe haven't mentioned? Anybody else have something, Susan?
Well, for me, being new to the area and everything, and I'm not ready yet, it's not ready yet. So for me, it was perfect because I didn't have to think about looking at one apartment that might be available somewhere and having to make a quick decision. I also like the fact that it's not-for-profit. That, for me, is extremely important, and that it's a brand-new build. Nobody else will have lived in that apartment before me, and I like that, and there'll be a lot of choices.
I think one of the things for me was the fact that the assisted living and memory care are there if I need it or have to move to that. I found that in the last couple of years, things haven't gone quite as great for me health-wise as it has. And come to the realization that I don't want to be a burden to my children. There's only one that lives in the area, and I don't really want to live there. So I need to make my decisions. I need to make things that I want out of my life, what's left of it. So thank you.
Yeah, something that was important to John and me, my spouse, was energy conservation efforts in building this building. We're not getting everything we want, but the fact that they're conscious of it and working in that direction mattered to us.
The continual care for us was for sure number one. I'm pretty healthy, except when I take care of the leaves or the snow or things like that. And my back says to me, help me, help me. And I know that backs don't get better, they only get worse. And then also, one day about a year and a half ago, my wife went in for a physical and had a blood test and came away with leukemia. And so somebody said, it happens fast. And it happens fast, just like that. She was a healthy person, not looking for a thing. So that for sure was our number one thing, was the continual care.
Perfect. Thanks for sharing. And we're glad to hear she's hopefully on the mend soon. So the next question that we have for the panel is, how important was the sense of community to your decision? I think that's a pretty obvious, everybody's shaking their head, right? Maybe talk a little bit about what experiences you've had that have helped build the sense of community. I know we give you opportunities, but have you made any new connections? Have you shared phone numbers? Have you met for margaritas? What does that look like for those of you that attend some of our monthly gatherings? Maybe what sense of community have you built within either our group setting or outside of that with people you've met? Anybody want to speak to that at all? I know that's kind of I threw a curveball at you. That's not exactly the question, but I think you all would say it's important, and then we'd pass the mic back.
I'll be honest, the first couple times I went to kind of the ladies' function, what's it called? Runway Rebels, and the trip to the Marquardt, I was checking out the other people there as much as I was checking out the Cesta. I wanted to see if it was a good fit for me. Do you know what I'm saying? did I see myself making friends and being a part of this community? And it didn't take me long at all to figure out, this is a good fit. And I come to the monthly meetings when I can. And I've met some friends. We've gone out to lunch. I really think the sense of community is one of the things that really pulled me into the Cesta.
I haven't had as much opportunity to go to the women's group. I have gone to a couple of functions, but I would say that most of my comfort has come from interacting with the staff. I just got the sense from the very beginning that everything was very transparent, that I could count on what they were saying as honest. And so, I don't know, I think you can know as well as I do that you can kind of pick that up from other people pretty quickly. And we've been involved, we put our money down a year and a quarter ago, I guess, and nothing but transparent, honest communication. I really appreciate it.
The fact that I'm here talking in front of you is unique. If any of you know engineers, engineers are not extroverts. We're very much introverts. So when you talk about community, the reason I'm here is because I believe in it. The staff has made me feel very comfortable. All of you have made me comfortable. We're all in the same position, so that's very nice and very much a comfort zone.
And we're doing so well with this microphone thing. I just have to, it's so great. It's not awkward at all. Okay, so next up on the question is, this is one that is going to speak to a lot of people in the room. Did you have hesitations about putting down a deposit? I know you guys spoke about it a little bit early to talk about nobody really wants to make the decision. You're uncomfortable, but you did so anyway. Did you have any hesitations about putting down a deposit? And if so, what were they? I'm sure you all had hesitations because I sat with all of you in the offices and some of you took many hours. No, I'm just kidding.
Our apartment is $600,000, so I owed $60,000. And so when we were thinking about that, Rox and I said, well, you take $60,000 out of your accounts, and it's not doing anything for you then. And it's just, it's in their piggy bank and not mine. But when you get out your calculator and you put, say, a 10%, a nice generous 10% return on that $60,000 for 2 years, you gain a little over $12,000. That's not chicken feed. However, they came out with this discount, and that was $30,000. So I said, $30,000, $12,000. I know which one is better. So that's what pushed us over the line.
I guess my biggest hang-up when I went that day was I didn't see a lot of things that I could count on or were in my realm. I worked with contracts all my life, building contracts, and I wrote specifications, and that was the contract. But I think in the end, I had a lot of confidence in Nikki and Stephanie, and I just said, this is the right place for me. So I went ahead.
Anybody else want to answer that question?
I would have to say I agree with Tom. Tying up a good chunk of money made you hesitate. Also, what also made us hesitate is we're in an apartment. We moved in when it was first built. It's a small building, it's 64 units, and we're half a block from Lake Mendota. So we look out our dining room, patio, every morning, and what do we see? The lake and the sunrise. So, I mean, you can't beat the view. We love it there. It's a great place. But reality is reality, and that's what we came back to.
Anybody else want to answer this question? Any hesitations about putting down? No? Does that mean no one had a hesitation? Anything you want to share that's particular to you?
You know, as a single person, this was a lot of money, and it was terrifying. When the last list of prices came out, the one before that, honestly, I was looking at a 2-bedroom. Could afford a 2-bedroom. When the last change happened, it was a shockaroo. I really didn't feel comfortable affording a 2-bedroom. So I had to rethink everything. And I went from 2 bedrooms, 2 bath, oh, this is lovely, to 1 bedroom and a den and a bath and a half. Am I okay with that? And it was tough. It was tough. I had to really do some soul searching, and we did some talking, and I ended up being okay with it, obviously. I'm up on the 4th floor, 1424, 1 bedroom and a den, but that den qualifies for a bedroom, by the way. It has a closet, and a bath and a half, and it's going to be just fine. But I did have to adjust my expectations and what I thought and felt comfortable being able to afford.
Thank you. I think a lot of that comes through in the meetings that we get to have with everybody, is that sometimes, I mean, how many of you, maybe this is by a show of hands, how many of you are future residents, have put down something on an apartment? Okay, so just look around for a second. Keep your hand up if you did not keep the same apartment that you wanted when you came in the door. Does that make sense? So if you picked a different apartment than you thought you wanted when you came to meet with me, put your hand up. Did you pick a different apartment? Right? So a lot of people came to the appointment like, yep, this is it. This is the one. Let's go. And then it was like, okay, let's talk about the pros of it. Let's talk through it. And then through conversation and understanding what is actually needed, what viewpoint, where's the view? You know, I can't beat Lake Mendota. I wish I could put a lake out there in Terra Vista, but they won't let me. What was the actual view from the window? What's the closeness to the elevator? Where do I have access to things that I need? Many people change their mind. So what I encourage you, if you haven't made this decision yet, is to stop getting hung up on what you think you want. Just have the conversation, talk through the pros and cons of every different opportunity, because a large percentage of people that we've had the honor to meet with have decided something different in that meeting and are happy walking away knowing that they've figured out things they didn't even think about before they came to the table. Okay, so thank you for that question. I know that's probably the top 10% of the hesitations. That list could probably go on forever, so I appreciate you guys getting vulnerable with us. So next question here is, what are the biggest challenges or obstacles you faced during that decision-making process? Was there anything in particular that was really large, other than, you know, we talked a little bit about the financial conversation. Was there any large challenge or obstacle you faced during the decision-making process before you got to us? Anybody want to answer that? Is this kind of a dud question? I don't know. We'll start here with Tom.
I'm kind of a dud.
You're not a dud. I didn't mean that. That's not.
So one of the things I think that haunted us was probably the same with many of you. Our house is too big and it's got too much stuff in it, and we're going to this little bitty place, and what are we going to do with all this stuff? So that was one of the drawbacks that we've been working on that now for, I guess, a year. We had the world's greatest garage sale last summer, and we got enough stuff to have about 2 more of those. So that's a big problem, and you got to work at that for sure, well ahead of time.
Yeah, it's a tough decision, and downsizing, getting rid of my beautiful home with in the woods kind of thing to this very small place, and how do you get there? And then having a spouse who I ain't gonna live there, to get that piece in place, and then look at what's available. Can we fit? How are we gonna fit? I could just tell you a really funny story about how this all went. We thought of the 2-bedroom and the den because we got this huge house, and this is what we were going to fit in. And when I finally got my husband on the page, he's trying to figure out, how am I going to do this? He started practicing. How is he going to fit in a smaller space? How is he going to make his office work in this? And it was quite an amazing thing to see him struggle with this, because it is a struggle to let go and to picture yourself in something smaller. But looking on the other side, what are you getting from that? And what for me is, I'm getting you. I'm getting people. I'm getting people that I can find out my door. Because as you age, you lose your people, and you lose the ability to go find the people, and that's important to me.
The move. That was and continues to be. We don't have a downsizing problem because we did that already. But still, a move is very stressful. When I was in the senior community, when I saw people coming in their 80s, it took them 4 or 5 months to recover from moving. And I said, boy, am I so glad we did it when we were younger.
I've talked to Nikki about this before, but this has to be a practical decision and not an emotional decision. It's a really hard thing to do, but life has a way of taking its own path. My husband had pancreatic cancer, so it was just 3 months from diagnosis to when he passed away. And it is much easier to move into a community if you're a couple, together as a couple, than it is to do as a single. That is a very, very different proposition. So you don't know what's going to happen, and you have to make that practical decision before it becomes a crisis, and you have to move somewhere. It's just a real important thing to keep in mind.
This was probably about 5 years ago, probably more than that, 10 years ago. Time goes by fast. My husband's parents had to move into someplace because they could no longer live at home, and they moved into a place that had a continuum of independent assisted living, memory care. And my mother-in-law regularly told us that she hoped that we would be smarter than they were, and that we would move while we were still enjoying life, while we still were mobile, because they became pretty non-mobile, and we still had clear minds, so that we could be part of a community, form a community with other people, because they had so many friends or people that they met in this facility that moved in, and they were disabled enough that they didn't get around. And so she said that the thing that she kept thinking about over and over and over again was 2 years prior to their moving in, she was really hesitant to move. She had a beautiful home on the 5th hole of a golf course overlooking the ocean, and she was like, no, I want to stay there. And then their decision was kind of made for them because they couldn't manage the house. And she said, I should have moved 2 years earlier, because life is way different now than it was 2 years ago. So that's one of the things that's actually helped me, remembering that conversation that we had many, many times, that you should move before the decision is made for you and you don't have a choice.
Great point. That's good. I have to share one more, just to give Joanne's story more credibility, and he'll be okay if I share this. So John was so much not on board that it took 2 years for me to get his email. So now we're practicing, we've made big strides with John, which I'm proud of. So It doesn't have to, you don't have to be all in, but I will find a way to get every opportunity for you. So it took 2 years to get his email. So if you ever think that I'm not willing to put in the effort, let that be a reminder that I will find your email at least at some point. But how did you weigh the costs of home ownership, maintenance, taxes, etc., against the all-inclusive pricing of the Cesta? When you started out thinking about what does this look like from a pricing perspective, we talked about spreadsheets a little bit. Did you have any additional tips on how to weigh the costs of home ownership with any of these? I don't know, it's kind of an odd question. Anybody have anything they want to add? Not sure whose phone that is, but
That's mine.
way to go,
I
Lyle.
apologize.
There's one in every group, Lyle.
The biggest,
Want me to grab it?
the biggest hidden cost of home ownership is maintenance. And especially now with the pricing the way it is, and typically, and I was guilty of this, underestimated what it was going to cost if something broke. Next one is repairs. As we age, we can't do as much as we used to. That's not one of the things I miss, by the way. I had so much more time when I was out of the house than when we were in the house. But cost of maintenance. And I did do a spreadsheet, Nikki. And I had all the costs. And it's basically a wash. Which surprised me. I had not expected that.
Anybody else want to answer this one? All right. Thanks, Michael. So this one is maybe something that we'll give everybody the opportunity to answer. What advice, so, looking out into the crowd, it's a mix of people that have picked, that have waved, that aren't ready, that, may not be ready ever. What advice would you give others considering a similar move? Whether it is depositing or taking that next step towards depositing or moving in eventually down the road. Anybody want to start with this one? What advice would you give to your peers who are looking to make a decision at some point? Want to start?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
So what I would say is, what is your anticipated timeline? What do you think is how long are you going to live? And how long are you going to be healthy? And are you being realistic about your health and your finances, your stress on your family, your stress on your spouse, and your stress on yourself? I know once that decision was made, what a relief. What a relief.
Thank you. I think most of us are proud of being good decision makers and being independent, and we all want to be very independent, and we don't want to have to rely on other people to help us and all of that. And the likelihood, the longer we wait, the more we're going to need help from somebody else. And I really want my legacy to be that I made good decisions my whole life, and I'm continuing to make my own decisions, and I'm not procrastinating. And I want my children I want to set that example for my children.
I would say that making this decision actually brought about some great conversations that we probably wouldn't have had without making that decision. And we do talk regularly about what the hell is going to happen with that piece of furniture or that thing. But the thing that's been really kind of fun, and not something I expected, was that we've been able to talk about how we are going to use our time when we don't have to work on the house or mow the lawn every weekend during the summer and those kind of things. What kind of recreational things are we going to become engaged in? And, watching the community right by where Cesta is being built, there's a coffee shop that's wonderful. There's a wine and bourbon bar that's delightful to go sit in. And there's just having some hope for the future instead of like, oh, we're getting old, we need to move. No, we're embarking on a new part of our lives with a new community and doing different things and having time now to do the biking and the kayaking, the stuff that, just when you have other responsibilities, you do those things. So I think for me, the most fun thing right now is having those conversations about how we are going to spend that time that we are opening up for ourselves.
Thank you. All right, now I don't even know how many questions left I have. I feel like I told you 10, but I think we're getting up there. One of the last ones here is, can you share any specific ways that putting down a deposit early has benefited you personally? What about putting that deposit down has benefited you personally in the last months that you have put it down? Anybody have anything?
Well, it's done. It's over. Quit thinking about it.
That's a good one. You want one? Yeah.
Less stress. We got enough stress. Less stress. And, this moving thing is a really big deal. But Cesta has got a relationship with an organization that's, I mean, yes, it costs money. Everything costs money. But it feels like these people, and I can't remember the name of the organization, they're really going to go to bat for you. They're really going to help you get this to happen because it's an enormous job. So less stress.
Just to add to what Joanne had to say, WellRive is the organization that that they've been using, and I've also had the fortunate experience of working with them as I've had patients of mine downsize and move to facilities. They are an incredible team, and they take all the stress and worry out of downsizing. An amazing group of people. Like she said, it costs money, but they have it fine-tuned. They actually offered me a job, and I said, no thanks, but it's a wonderful group of people and a wonderful company. So just to add that.
I think more than anything, I have found a real sense of peace in having made this decision. It was really stressful before, and yes, the spreadsheet and the whole works and visited the other place, yes. But having made the decision, I have, I guess I would say, a real sense of peace. I know where I'm going to be. I know the people that are going to be around me. We've already starting to establish that community, that friendship, and it's a huge amount of worry and stress taken off of my shoulders and my family's. So.
Great answers, you guys. Okay, so I'm going to say this is the last one. We'll switch to live questions after this one. But what would you say to someone who is on the fence about reserving an apartment based on your experience? So maybe talk a little bit about the actual reservation process, the meeting. What would you say to those that are saying, I don't even want to get in there, I don't want to get sold to? Maybe that's the question we hear so often is, gosh, the full court press from Nikki's really intense. I don't hear that a lot, but maybe talk a little bit about what you would say to someone about your experience in actually selecting an apartment that might lead them to being more open to it.
I'll do that. As I mentioned before, I really had to switch my mind shift from what I thought I needed and what I was going to move into to what I eventually am going to move into. And part of it is my daughter with disabilities. She comes home one weekend a month and almost every holiday, and I need her to have her space. I need a room big enough for, she has to have an adjustable bed. She has an oxygen concentrator. I need to be able to accommodate my daughter. And Nikki pulled out her magic board, and she said, what furniture are we talking, Peggy? What equipment are we talking? And she literally took these little gizmos, these little icons, and showed me where her end table could fit, where her oxygen concentrator can go, where the double bed will be. And that in itself was like, okay, now I've got my checkbook out. Because I wasn't only taking care of me, but I also need to accommodate my family too. And Nikki was so wonderful in actually doing that for me. No, thank
I
you.
wasn't trying to get a kudos, but
But no, you did.
I would say that the experience of going in and talking with Nikki and making our deposit was a far different experience than I expected. Nikki asked us how we felt when we walked in, and I said, very uncomfortable. And by the time we left, I was still uncomfortable about some things, but I also had gone in pretty confident that this was the model of a community that I wanted to be in. But everything that we were concerned about, we took the time to talk about. And so I felt listened to, I felt validated, I felt like my concerns were important, and it was a great experience. It really was.
I'll build a little bit on what Nancy said. She touched on it. We knew we were going to probably sign up, but what we didn't know for sure is what place. So Nikki was very good at asking the right questions to get us to elaborate why we thought this one was better than this one. And it really made the decision much easier than I would have anticipated. And it was not a high sales pitch. It really was one where it was a nice, comfortable discussion.
Thank you. I did not intend for that to become like a give me my flowers moment, but that was the intent behind that, is to understand that I stand behind what I've said before, that this is not a decision I should make for you. It is a decision that I want you to feel comfortable talking to me about your pros and cons, because everybody's pros and cons are different. Even at this table, every single person here has a totally different background, a totally different story that they brought with them. And making a decision meant something very different to every single person, and it does in this room as well. So knowing that it's not you have to make a decision the minute you meet with me, it's let's have a conversation in person and figure out, what does the path forward look like? Is it ready now? Is it ready in 6 months? Are you ready in 5 years? Give me that opportunity. I think we've done enough to earn your trust to be able to sit in a room with me and comfortably have that conversation. So I appreciate that. You guys, your questions were fantastic, or your answers were fantastic. Thank you for doing that. So we have a little bit of we're going to play a little bit of mic game here. We're going to have 3 mics now. So we're going to take some questions from the audience. I don't know if there are anything in particular, if you want to ask somebody in particular a question, if you have kind of a generic one for the group. Anybody here that has a question right off the bat, what we're going to do is Stephanie's going to walk to you with this black microphone. When you speak into it, it's not going to sound amplified, so don't be alarmed. It is actually just miking into the camera so that we can hear you loudly through the camera. So when we send it out at our weekly update, everybody will be able to hear your question. I will repeat your question, and then I'll pass the microphone to whomever at the panel wants to answer, okay?
I'm wondering if any of you have hobbies or small businesses, micro businesses that you've been spending time with, and how you have wrapped your head around giving those up or downsizing that activity in a significant way. That's one. And the second is, I'm wondering about your strategies for downsizing from 2 cars, those of you that are couples, to 1 car, and how you're thinking about that, or what guidance you might give those of us that still are wedded to having 2 cars and the independence that provides.
Those are 2 great questions. So we'll start first off with the first. So Nara mentioned, so how many of you in this room, maybe by a show of hands, have some sort of hobby or micro business that you still actively are doing, whether it's consulting or crafting or jewelry design or pottery or whatever it happens to be. So the question is, how do you plan to downsize that task or change how you do that task or that business while moving to an apartment home? And then we'll talk about the cars after. Anybody here have a micro business up here, or hobbies that they want to chat about? Lyle, what are you doing on your weekends?
Well, I don't have a business per se, but when the weather gets warmer, I back the car out and I do my woodworking. Now, I'm fortunate to have an oversized 1-car garage, and I've got all my tools on 3 sides. So I pull everything out, but I know that the day will come when I need to get rid of all those tools, and I guess I'm fine with that. Right now I'm having a hard time getting the bandsaw and the router table and everything out from up high. So I think I'm ready. It's just a matter of time, and I know it'll be at least a year yet. or two.
It'll be at least 18 months.
I do still do engineering consulting. So I don't require a lot of tools, but I used to have a huge file cabinet and kept paper documents. I went all electronic. So really what I did is evaluate, what do I really need? Is there a method I can do what I do now and just do it with less space?
I would say the other part of that too is potentially as we get into bringing a lifestyle enrichment director on board, what does that business opportunity shift to as maybe a teacher of a class, maybe an opportunity to share with those that live on the campus your skill and say, hey, introductory to this, maybe it's not as much of a paid avenue as you had before, but maybe utilizing some of the spaces that we have, art studio, some of those spaces to keep that creativity alive, and maybe it shifts into more of a mentorship role. And then we also are connected to that school. So if there's woodworking or glass, stained glass, I know I have several gentlemen that do stained glass, or whether it's watercolor painting, whatever it happens to be, there are ways to mentor and to turn that passion into something that still impacts people in a positive way, maybe just not in an income generating way down the road. But Nara's second question is, what are you going to do with 2 cars? Joanne's already got it figured out. So how do you downsize from 2 cars to 1?
We recently had a forced downsize that my car was parked. Luckily, nobody hurt, but smashed. And it was one of those slippery days, and somebody came around a corner and wham, right into my car. I was supposed to be in service for 4 weeks. We just learned it's going to be another 2 weeks after the 4 weeks. So 6 weeks. And we have a jalopy. We had a nice car and a jalopy, and now we have to drive our jalopy. And it's working. It's okay. But I'm also aware Cesta will have bus service. And so it's a social event, I'm not driving my own little car. I can figure out how to go on the bus with other people. And that is another one that is going to solve that 2-car problem, I think.
Anybody else want to talk about 2 cars?
Yeah, we downsized to 1 car about a year ago. And what really drove it is I figured out how much it really cost me to run that second car. Then we looked at how many miles do we put on the 2 cars. And we said, okay, how many times, because we're retired, do we really need to be in 2 different places at the same time? So the economics became very simple, 1 car.
Mic drop at that one, right? So Joanne talked a little, Tom's got something to say. I want to interject one thing before I give him the mic. But Joanne talked about having bus service. So not only will there be a Madison Metro bus route in the neighborhood, but the Cesta will also have some sort of transportation, first medical when we first open, and then the goal is to add then social transportation opportunities so that you can go places at 2 different times and only one person needs to have that vehicle.
We would like to get down to 1 car, but neither of us are willing to give up our car. So I figured the way we're going to do this is I'll be in the garage and she'll be tired of scraping her windows by the first winter. Problem solved.
Okay, if anybody sees Tom doing that, you have my permission to kick him out. That's not in that's not in the handbook, Tom. I advise you to not let your wife's car be the one that's surface level parking if you do bring 2 vehicles. Otherwise, I have another apartment I can offer you right down the hallway. I'd be happy to reserve you 2 anytime. All right, any other questions from the group?
How do you anticipate managing your pets?
How do you anticipate managing your pets? I feel like there's a lot more to that, Roger. Anything in specific, or do you just want to see how they answer it?
I just want to know where they're going to walk them.
We don't have an enclosed yard now, so every time we take our little Bichon out, we have to put on a leash and walk him. So that won't be anything new. In that area, it'll be a new area to explore and to walk in. And yes, we'll be on the 4th floor, so we'll have to handle that a little bit differently. But I don't know, the benefit of having a pet is so great that if it's a little more inconvenience, then so be it.
Thank you. So one of the couple other things I want to mention. So everything is sidewalked in Terravesa, 25-mile-an-hour sidewalked. So you could probably walk the entire expanse of the neighborhood, all 250 acres, without ever having to leave the sidewalk. Terravesa itself will have different dog stations. So if you need to pick up after your pet, you'll be encouraged to. Likely, pets will not be allowed in our courtyard area. That's going to be a very no-go zone. So you'll literally, when you step out, there's about 5 different exits throughout the independent side of the building that you can get out to very quickly. And then you have the whole expanse of the neighborhood to do your thing. From the pet agreement situation, we're going to talk about that a little bit later this year. For those of you that have an opinion to give on a pet agreement, we want to hear it. We're also not rookies. We're not coming, it's not our first rodeo. We've been around for over 50 years within active communities and know what works and doesn't work in a common space. But it is an agreement. We have to understand what does that look like, and there is a learning adjustment to everybody, even pets included. One of the things we are going to start doing, and you'll hear more about in March, this summer, we're going to start a dog park group. And that's for people that have pets. Hey, get out, get to know each other, and let the dogs get to know each other. When dogs know each other, everybody's happier. Not everybody has to get to know each other when they first move in. So we've already gone to the lengths of saying, let's find somewhere local. Let's get you out of the house. Let's let the dogs meet each other. Let you meet each other so that you have something in common. You'll get more information on that probably it will hopefully start in May when the mud is dry. I've heard this is a terrible time of year to take a dog to the dog park. So we're going to wait until the mud is gone. But great question. Yeah.
There's also a bike trail right through it, so, and it's not far, and a good place to go walk a dog.
Absolutely. Roger, did that answer your question? Yes. What kind of dog are you getting, Roger?
I'm working on it.
What other questions for the panel do we have as we wrap up here? Go ahead, Carol.
This is a very, very specific question. Do any of you have a piano that you are taking with you?
Do any of you have a piano that you are taking with you? Or does anybody want one from Carol? Carol's looking to downsize already. She wants to keep it. She wants to put it somewhere. Anybody up here bringing a piano with? I know we have a couple that have talked about bringing a piano to their apartment homes. What is it? Why do you ask? Do you want...
I'm concerned about how it affects your neighbors on the other side of the wall. It's certainly not soundproof walls.
Well, they are soundproof walls, Carol.
Totally.
Well, you're gonna if you're gonna have it tied to an amp and we're gonna be rocking out at midnight, maybe not. But yes, the soundproofing between the walls, there's actually an air gap in between. So there's actually 3 layers of drywall in between every wall, not just your interior apartment walls, but also to your neighbor and to the hallway. So it's actually drywall on either side, then blown-in insulation, and the drywall layer in between. So not only will there be soundproofing components to the walls interiorly, but also above and below. So the soundproofing, yes. Now, I don't know how loud you play or, what we're talking about. If we get dueling pianos on the same floor with doors open, that's a different story. But yes, we anticipate many people in the room actually, and many people we've talked to do still play musical instruments. Cello was brought up this morning, actually, and will that disturb people? And the answer on our end is no. Should we have something, we hope to have something available in the common areas. Marquardt, if anybody's toured it, you'll see Bruce. He plays every morning from 9 to 10 a.m. in their common space and just goes and plays on the baby grand. So we may have something like that in the common spaces as well, so that there's always music. But your piano's welcome to come with you. And I have a couple of floor plans I could show you that it would fit in. Just letting you know. Although I think the best floor plan was already picked because of the piano space. So, yeah. So one more round of applause for these awesome people up here. Give them a big round. That's huge. I don't think you guys understand how uncomfortable it is to talk to a group of your peers. I mean, I'm kind of desensitized to it at this point, but these people really not volunteered, they were voluntold, to do it. So we really appreciate their insight, and I'm sure if you have any questions, I'm sure they're happy to help answer. One thing I want to kind of point out as we embark here into almost March, we have a couple different events coming up. So you should have received information on an All About Fitchburg presentation. That's going to be on the 10th at Barnwood Events. We are having the Chamber of Commerce, the Economic Development Department of the City of Fitchburg, the Senior Center for Fitchburg, and the principal at Forest Edge Elementary coming to do mini presentations to show you, hey, this is what Terra Vesta, this is what Fitchburg has to offer. If you're not a Fitchburg resident, come see what it's about. Come enjoy, meet each other. You'll have some socialization opportunities as well. We'd love to see 100 plus at that venue. It's a gorgeous venue, and it gives you an opportunity to get your feet wet with Fitchburg and just stop, making the excuses of it's too far. It's too far. Fitchburg has a ton to offer, and that presentation is going to shed a little light on that. You also, if you're new and you haven't been invited to the Marquardt yet, Nicole is working on inviting you to our bus tours. We have one coming up in April and May. If we need to add an additional one, we will look to do so probably later this summer. But you're invited to come along on that bus trip. We will open it up to those that haven't come after if we can't fill the seats. So we will not let the seats go unfilled. So watch your inboxes. We're going to start doing a lot of stuff. And the goal of every one of these events is to help bring people along and help string those relationships together to make this an easier decision for those of you that are still on the fence. In March, we're having our first future resident only happy hour, which is going to be super fun. I don't know about you, but I'm ready for a margarita. But this is going to be a great opportunity to meet with our president of Illuminous, our CEO of Illuminous, along with our VP of Construction. So this is an opportunity that's allotted to those that have reserved an apartment. Number one, to also get you guys to know each other. Start building familiarity. Start figuring out who's on what floor, who might be your neighbor across the hall. We're going to start doing those more frequently. So you're going to see kind of big group events from an educational purpose. You're all invited. You'll see some future resident events kind of spawn off of that. So those of you that have selected, you'll be invited to those. And then we're going to just continue to grind. We're going to continue to chip away. We're 54% of our way to our goal. And if you know anything about us, we're just going to keep grinding. We're going to keep mailing. We're going to try and find John's email after 2 years. We're just going to keep having that conversation. But for those of you that have put your money down, you're going, this isn't going fast enough. Trust me, we get a lot of those phone calls as well. I understand. We would love that number to be higher as well. Full transparency. We get it. At the end of the day, we're talking about bringing people up to speed that are brand new within several days. Twice now in the last 2 weeks, we've had somebody sign up for the wait list and pick an apartment within the same business week. Now, think about that. For those of you that have been on the list for 3 years, 4 years, 2 years, 18 months, whatever it is, think about how many questions you have asked. Think about how many things you have come to the team for. And the fact that these people are making this decision within a business week is mind-blowing. So just want to ask for a little patience for those that seem a little bit impatient. I get it. There's money involved, but we are working hard to make sure that that happens. We're not going to stop till we get to 70%. So if you have any questions, let us know. Stephanie and Nicole and I will stay back. Nicole has a little appointment card back there. So, hey, the point of today was to move the needle. If the needle moved for you in any capacity, fill out a card, tell me what time you want to meet, tell me if you want to do a Zoom call, a phone call, you want to come over for coffee. We'd love to put that in there. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you to the panel. Enjoy. Thanks for coming.